Good evening and welcome to the County Council Chambers. This evening we're honored to have County Executive Barry Glassman with us, who will deliver his 6th annual State of the County address. He will be speaking to us here and to the public through live streaming on the county website. Video will also be archived on the county website as part of this legislative address. Before we hear from the county executive, we have a brief video from the Glassman administration with highlights from the 5th year in office. It's my pleasure to introduce Harford County Executive Barry Glassman.
Mr. President, it's good to be with you this evening. Major General Kilgo, Colonel Durrell, council members, cabinet members, and my fellow Harford County citizens, it is indeed a pleasure for me to bring to you my annual State of Harford County address. Number one, I am confident to say that Harford County has regained the standing it had prior to the Great Recession through a number and combination of hard choices, like the right sizing of the county workforce, holding the line on capital projects, and fostering a local environment which is conducive to sustainable growth. As we enter 2020, our outlook has improved substantially. As a result, my administration has returned the fund balance back to normal levels. We have continued to retain our AAA bond rating, which only 2% of counties have across the country. Through a strong fiscal management, we have restored county pay raises for 5 years, implemented a new pay plan for our deputies and correctional officers, which I hope to complete this year, and funded education budgets so that all our teachers and staff are caught up on their missteps during the recession and have also received pay raises for the past 5 years. For the 2nd year in a row, we have paid off more debt than we took on, and that includes our building and hopefully the opening of the Havre de Grace Middle High School later this year, hopefully just in time for my 40th class reunion. Now that's hard to believe. I never thought I'd stand here 40 years later and say that. I want to thank my staff, county employees, and the county council because it has required fiscal discipline and management to get here today where we are. In fact, as we enter 2020, we are one of the handful of suburban counties which has managed such a grand turnaround without leveling new taxes on our families or businesses throughout Harford County. Together, we have adopted a plan that simply manages our revenue and expenditures, stresses efficiency and customer service every day while providing smart and targeted growth in our local economy. Revenues long flat or with anemic growth are growing at their fastest rate in years. Now, I would add a word of caution here. As revenues grow, albeit mostly one-time revenues, there will be a temptation to further accelerate spending. We are in the longest economic expansion ever, but most economists will say it is not a matter of if, but when we are going to see a flattening or downturn in growth. With international events and general dysfunction in Washington, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. It flows down to the state level in Annapolis, where this year's debate over the Kerwin plan will most likely level $1.3 billion on Maryland counties for increased education spending with a total plan of $4 billion. The Speaker of the House appointed me to the Formula Committee over the summer. I think I lost half my life during the summer at those 8-hour meetings. But we came up with the new funding formula for the state and local jurisdictions. And based on very rosy projections, Harford's additional costs with teacher pensions would be about $10 million at the end of this phase-in. Other jurisdictions would pay much more, but our impact has been softened by our local effort and level of funding around 50 cents on the local dollar, ranking 13th in the state. In fact, last year, our increase to education was the 4th highest increase in the state of Maryland. I would point out that counties that have to pay more are Baltimore City. Baltimore City contributes about 20 cents to a dollar. Prince George's County, 36 cents, just to give you an indication of where Harford County is. This plan will be debated in Annapolis during this session, and we'll find out more by April what the final formulas look like. I have begun to set aside some assigned fund balance to be in a better position to fund this program, which I do believe is going to pass in some shape or form. My experience over the years from the state and local levels is that local governments will most likely be in the familiar position of having to increase their funding levels while at the same time absorbing some state funding cuts or shifts. Either way, I can assure our folks at home that Harford County will be in a position to again fund education at record levels and maintain it as our priority. You know, Henry Ford said, if everyone is moving forward, then success will take care of itself. Our success is also occurring in partnership with the private sector, with my administration assisting in the creation of 500 new or expanding businesses, creating over 4,000 net new jobs, with $549 million in capital investment and 7 million square feet of new space. Building on our success at the incubator ground floor on Route 40, our agribusiness incubator is under construction at the Ag Center. The Grove will provide new opportunities for ag startups and folks that have new products that want to get a leg up in that industry. In addition, Aberdeen Proving Ground, our largest employer, continues to grow its mission sets. The Army's Futures Command is a two-star command, which is equivalent economically to a Fortune 500 company. I've enjoyed building a new relationship with Major General Kilgo and Colonel Drool, who are here this evening with us to share their commitment. Major General, I was going to tease you about the Cowboy season until the Ravens' performance Saturday night. So I cut that from the speech today, all right? I can't tease you about the Cowboys. But Billy and I do look forward to running your MLK run on Thursday morning, bright and early at 7 a.m. on the Proving Ground. So we will be there. I'm praying for warm weather. As a great American defense community, we not only enjoy our economic partnership, but we thank you for your service to the cause of freedom and the work APG does to protect our American war fighters across the globe. Army strong, Harford strong. Thank you, sir. On the battlefront of the opioid crisis, I have become cautiously optimistic. As you know, when I was sworn in 5 years ago, I pledged that we would come out of the dark and shed a light on this devastating epidemic. Since then, Harford County has become a leader in Maryland with several award-winning efforts. The state's numbers from a couple of weeks ago show our progress with a 32.8% reduction in fatalities, the highest of any of Maryland's 7 big jurisdictions. This is due to a lot of hard work, our partnerships with Sheriff Gaylor and his public safety staff. Sheriff, thank you. Our amazing and underappreciated health department, our first responders, our unique relationships with ACR, Rage Against Addiction, and so many more. My own staff in community services, and I must include the folks in the faith community who have sent up prayers for the ones we've lost, but also for those that we have led to recovery. We will not rest, but continue to shine a light on recovery and expand our efforts to help survivors heal and rebuild their lives. Our first of its kind Klein Family Crisis Center for Behavioral Health and Addiction is completing its startup year, serving close to 1,200 guests since June, and our 24-hour hotline has fielded 5,000 calls since October of 2018. We are making sure and working hard to make sure patients get the appropriate insurance coverage when using the center. In order to create that model, I have directed that all county employees and their dependents be covered at that center regardless of when they show up. We will set the way for coverage. I am also continuing my work to lower prescription drug costs for our seniors and working families across Maryland, so they don't have to choose between getting their medications and deciding on what living expense to pay for. Just as an example, last year the county paid $3.5 million for 10 specialty drugs. We need reform in the prescription drug field. We have supported the Drug Affordability Board, and they'll be visiting the county here in April. I intend to stick to this year's theme of moving forward together through this new year. Most of you know my study of President Lincoln, and one of his favorite sayings that I love is that sometimes I may move and go slowly forward, but I never go backwards. With this in mind, I am pleased to announce some partnerships which are their first in the kind in Harford County and in some cases in the state of Maryland. Over the past 5 years, we have funded our stormwater obligations at $52 million and completed 23 projects to maintain compliance with the Maryland mandates. To build on our commitment, I'd like to welcome Mayor of Havre de Grace, Bill Martin, as we announce the state's first municipal, county, Department of Natural Resource partnership, where the county will contribute up to $500,000 towards the completion of the city's Living Shoreline project. Living Shoreline is a national model for coastal resiliency and ecosystem restoration, one that through a nature-based approach will provide tremendous water quality improvements, habitat uplift, and on track to meet our goals, and help restore the Susquehanna River, shoreline along the city of Havre de Grace and the Upper Bay. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being with us and being a partner in this important endeavor. Thank you, sir. On the public safety front, our county medics continue to assist our great volunteers and have handled over 3,000 EMS calls this year and saved countless lives. There is growing concern among our local EMS and fire leaders and with leaders statewide as volunteer numbers continue to fall. To help attract new community fire and EMS providers, I will be implementing Maryland's first student loan debt repayment program for college graduates who serve as volunteer fire and EMS responders in the community. My program, called Harford's Next Gen Responder, is modeled after a proposal working its way through the Pennsylvania legislature. After reaching the required number of service points, college graduates who volunteer as first responders will be eligible for $5,000 a year toward student loan debt repayment, up to $20,000. In addition, I have directed that the county's tuition reimbursement program cover fire courses as well as EMS. To further supplement our local fire service, I am announcing the first public-private partnership with Abington Volunteer Fire Company, and I see some of their folks here this evening. We are going to finance and construct a new substation in Riverside to be managed and operated by the company and jointly house Harford County units and personnel along with Company 4 units. Together, we will serve together, and we share the goal of serving our citizens in their greatest moment of need. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. In closing, I am so proud of our citizens who have opened their hearts to our Choose Civility campaign. This year we held our first annual Longest Table event where we broke bread and we broke down barriers. Instead of dividing people by politics, race, and religion, Harford County is choosing to build bridges. With acts of kindness and tolerance, we are uniting in our common humanity. I want to thank Mary Hassler, who I see out there, and the Harford County Library for their outstanding partnership. Mary, we thank you for your efforts. Along with the 50 local agencies, nonprofits, and businesses that have joined our effort and joined the cause. Together, we are making Harford County a model of civility for the state and the nations. I always say, the haters will not prevail here. We're moving forward with positive and peaceful thoughts. And as we celebrate Reverend King's birthday this coming Monday, we will also continue our Day of Service program where county employees can get a day off to go out and work in the community as we remember Reverend King. But I also ask you to remember his challenge. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And indeed, Harford County, we will move forward together in this new decade. Thank you, and God bless you.
Not yet.
Good evening, and welcome to the 2020 Legislative Address. It is my pleasure to welcome each of you to the Harford County Chambers. 1 year ago tonight, the council was new, and I stated then how we were quickly becoming a team and learning from each other. Tonight, I'm proud to say that we are a team. We are a team that works very well together for the people of Harford County. One of the reasons that our team works so well together is because of our council president. Council President VINCENTI has done an outstanding job moving this council forward and keeping us focused and working together as a team. It's because of his strong leadership we will succeed as a council, which in turn helps us as a council make this county better. That is why this council here tonight not only is a group of colleagues, but we're also a group of friends. So it's my honor to introduce for his second legislative address, Council President Patrick Vincent.
Thank you, Vice President Woods, for the introduction and for your service to Harford County. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. County Executive Glassman, Major General Kilgo, Colonel Druell, Mayor Martin, council members, directors, and fellow Harford Countyans. It's an honor and pleasure to speak with you this evening. As council president, I continue to be extremely proud of each member of this council and their commitment and dedication to the citizens of Harford County. Over the past year, council members have been actively involved in legislation that affects their individual districts and the county at large. This involvement extends beyond their district legislative duties, but further with our collective body serving on over 30 boards and commissions that embody many important aspects of our quality of life in Harford County. I'm truly pleased to recognize your county council members and highlight a few of the boards and commissions in which they serve on. Councilman Andre Johnson, serving as our liaison to the Commission on Veterans Affairs and Commission on Disabilities. Councilman Joe Woods, along with serving as our council vice president, also our liaison to the Maryland Association of Counties and our local emergency planning commission. Councilman Anthony Giordano serves as our liaison to the Sheriff's Office and the Economic Development Advisory Board. Councilman Chad SHRODES serves as our liaison to the Traffic Safety Advisory Board, our Agricultural Economic Development Advisory Board, and the Library Board of Trustees. Councilman Rob Wagner serves as our liaison to Mental Health and Addictions Advisory Board and the Audit Advisory Board. Councilman Curtis Beulah serves as our liaison to the Board of Education and the Citizens Nursing Home Board. As council president, I chair the Adequate Public Facilities Advisory Board. I'm a voting member of the Board of Estimates, and I serve on the Harford County Department of Social Services Advisory Board, to name a few. While 2019 has come to a close, marking the end of our first legislative session of this term, I would like to highlight a few of the council's accomplishments. One of the primary roles of the county council is to review and approve the county executive's operating and capital budgets. This year, the council passed a budget that included increased funding for education, along with salary increases for our teachers, sheriff's deputies, correctional officers, county employees, and funding for various county initiatives. In addition to the budget, we approved significant pieces of legislation relating to zoning and land use, including an initiative led by Councilman SHRODES pertaining to accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. We focused much of our time this year on fostering stronger relationships throughout our communities. As a positive result of these communications, we've developed a Route 40 revitalization work group. Nearly 60 of our stakeholders participated, including property owners, representatives from public safety, education, private business, community members, and this council. The work group is developing plans and draft legislation to promote a positive impact on our gateways and neighborhoods along the Route 40 corridor. Tonight marks the beginning of a new year and a new decade, offering new opportunities for this council to build on our previous successes. As your council president, I stand committed to lead this council in a professional manner that promotes effective communication while at the same time incorporating the individual thoughts, concerns, and goals of council members and our citizens. In keeping with the spirit of our last legislative address, I'd like to outline a few of our priorities for this legislative session. Education and our children's futures remain the #1 priority for the Glassman administration and this council. Our commitment to providing our students with the very best public education available in a safe and secure environment is reflected in the current budget with increased funding. Until the Kirwan Commission and state legislature has completed its work to identify funding into the future, the uncertainty of our local jurisdiction's financial responsibility remains unclear. A strong and sustainable local economy are of paramount importance in order to continue to provide these large investments in our children's education and to the overall economic health of our county. We recognize Harford County's diverse business community includes many small and family-owned businesses, along with our major corporate partners. My council colleagues and I continue to support efforts to expand and attract new business throughout our county to grow our existing corporate community, providing greater employment opportunities for our residents. General Kilgo, council members express our sincere gratitude to you and the United States Army for your continued support and commitment to Harford County. We recognize that Aberdeen Proving Ground, north and south, is the county's largest employer and hope to continue work to strengthen employment opportunities on and off base while supporting APG's mission. Additionally, we plan to continue to work with both public and private stakeholders, as well as our citizens, to promote investment for the redevelopment of our Route 40 communities and corridor. We realize that having a healthy Route 40 is vital to the success of our county, along with preserving our local heritage. These preservation efforts help to sustain our farming industry and way of life, which remains one of our top 5 economic drivers in Harford County. Beginning April 1st, the federal government will be conducting its 2020 census, the results of which will have an enormous and positive impact on our county. Accurate data is important to the decision makers in many areas, including education, health, senior services, public safety, infrastructure, and housing. In the public sector, funding levels for community activities and the capitalization of federal grants are likely to be affected, which is why it is so important for all of our citizens to be engaged in the process. Serving as the Board of Health, council members work closely with Dr. Moy, health department professionals, and all of our dedicated partners in their efforts to combat the ongoing opioid crisis and other public health issues. We're encouraged by the state's recent reports in reference to opioid use in our communities, and we remain committed to working with the administration and all of our partners for the overall health of Harford County. Our commitment to health and well-being of our citizens includes support for our public safety personnel and law enforcement members. Thank you to Sheriff Gaylor and to the dedicated deputies employees, State's Attorney Piesinger and his team, along with our fire and EMS volunteers and related agencies for the service and security they provide to citizens of Harford County. In closing, my council colleagues and I thank our citizens for placing their trust and confidence in us to represent them. We truly appreciate and recognize the importance of our dedicated team here at the council office. So we thank each one of you for your service you provide to this council and to our citizens each and every day. I want to offer my special thanks to my legislative aides, Ms. Harris, Mrs. Lentz, Mrs. Sapp, and to my budget advisor, Mr. Ondish, for their service and commitment to me, my office, this council, and the county. I also want to personally recognize my wife, Jeannie, who's here with us this evening. I want to thank you for your love and devotion. Without your support, I could not serve in any capacity. Harford County truly is a great place to live, learn, work, and raise a family. Thank you, and God bless this great county.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight for the State of the County Address and the Legislative Address. At this time, we'll be taking a 10-minute break before we start tonight's legislative session. So thank you again.
Was that all right? Yeah, very good. Didn't even stumble at all. You just rolled right through. Rolled right through.
Chair calls to order legislative session day 20-002. I would ask you to please join us in standing for this evening's pledge, followed by the opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, as we start this new year, let us have open hearts and minds. Lord, we look ahead with great optimism. We ask that you guide us with each step. We pray for your wisdom, your strength, and your power. We ask that you constantly are with us. Lord, we pray for discernment and insight as we are all faced with decisions that have impact and effect on our county. Please continue to watch over our men and women in uniform, our first responders and their families. Thank you for the gift of life and all things. For these things we pray in your most holy name, Lord. Amen. Agenda item number 4, presentation of proclamations, we have none. Number 5, consideration of petitions, applications, appointments, and nominations, there are none. Special presentations, none. Agenda item number 7, approval of minutes. Public hearing, January 7th, 2020. Legislative Day 20-001, January 7th, 2020. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There being no corrections, the minutes stand approved. Item number 8, introduction and consideration of resolutions, none. 9, introduction of bills, none. 10, introduction and consideration of amendments, none. Agenda item number 11, call for final reading of bills. Bill 19-031, appropriation fiscal year 2020, other post-employment benefits. May I have a motion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Woods.
Mr. President, I move to approve Bill number 19-031, appropriations FY 2020, other post-employment benefits.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Schrodes. It's moved and seconded to approve Bill 19-31. Any discussion? Ms. Dixon.
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Woods?
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano?
Aye.
Mr. Schrodes?
Aye.
Mr. Wagner?
Aye.
Mr. Beulah?
Aye.
Thank you. There being 7 votes in the affirmative and 0 in the negative, Bill 19-031 is hereby approved. Agenda item number 12, enrollment of bills. The enrolled copy of bills, Bill 19-031, appropriation fiscal year 2020, other post-employment benefits, is certified as being the text finally passed. Agenda item number 13, unfinished business, there is none. Number 14, new business, Harford Community College fiscal year 20 capital budget transfer. May I ask Mr. Jackson and Ms. Fisk to come forward, please? Good evening.
Good evening, council members.
If you would pull those mics close to you, we should be good. Are they on, Milo?
Lights on.
They're not on.
You think that'd be green?
Oh.
Mr. Jackson, let me be the first to welcome you here to the council chambers. Understand that this is your second day with Harford Community.
Yes, sir, and thank you for the opportunity for being part of your meeting this evening.
Thank you. Proceed.
I'm here tonight to present a request for a capital budget transfer from the project of the college's Edgewood Hall renovation expansion to our new Chesapeake Renovation and Expansion Center at the Harford Community College. We recognize there was unused funds in the amount of $307,425 from the Edgewood project. We're here tonight to request that those funds be transferred to the Chesapeake Renovation and Expansion Center. That project will benefit both the college and the county with a complete renovation of that building, which hasn't taken place since 1968, and will create a new welcome center and a front door to the college, which will also allow 8,000 more square footage for more of a conference center that could be a host for county venues and school activities.
Thank you, and I understand that both Dr. Phillips and the county executive have agreed that this is to be done. So, council members, Ms. Fiske, would you have anything to add?
No, thank
All right,
you.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Now's the time. Mr. Giangiordano?
Just when's the completion date?
The completion date, we have scheduled design to start in about a month. That will be about a 15-month process, and then there'll be a 3-month gap, and then 18 months of construction. So we're talking about 2.5 years from now.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Jackson, then what we'll do is we'll take this back and we'll make a decision at our next council meeting on the 21st, I believe. Is that right? So thank you for coming tonight and look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very
Again,
much.
soon.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Agenda item number 15, business from the president. I think first, briefly, because I know Councilman SHRODES will speak to this in depth, I just wanted to express my condolences to Ed Grimmel and his family over the passing of his mother, Dixie. I didn't know her real well, but I had an opportunity to meet with her and talk with her at last year's Garrettsville Fire Banquet, and she was an amazing lady, spent quite a bit of time over all her years volunteering at different organizations throughout her communities and throughout the county. So my thoughts and prayers go out to them, and I know she will surely be missed. As I said earlier, my colleagues and I continue to have regular one-on-one meetings with a lot of the folks involved with our education, all of our partners, bargaining partners at education. We recently attended the the HCEA legislative breakfast this past Saturday. I met with Dr. Bolson this morning. I spoke with Dr. Phillips this morning. I'm meeting with her again tomorrow. I just want everyone to understand that this council is fully engaged in the conversations and look forward to continuing that. We also are continuing to work with our citizens all across the county. Each one of our members here at the council are out and about every day and active in all of our community advisory board meetings. Myself and my legislative aide, Ms. Harris, we recently attended both Joppa and Edgewood CAB meetings, and I was at Joppa, she was at Edgewood. And then I know that council members are active in all of our community advisory boards across the county. So with that, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Council President, and I'll yield my time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President. And tomorrow is our first MACO subcommittee, MACO taxation subcommittee meeting. One of the top discussions, first up, will be the option of taxing internet services, including advertising services and things of that nature, Facebook, Google. It's going to be an interesting discussion tomorrow, so it'll be a long day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Giangiordano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think along with some of the other colleagues, we attended the Route 40 luncheon. We heard Speaker Colonel Timothy Durrell, Commander of the U.S. Army Garrison at APG. Want to thank Leslie Stein for the invitation. We also had a great Ravens rally in Bel Air. Black Eyed Susie's, unfortunately, it didn't turn out the best for the Ravens, but we wish them luck, and hopefully we'll be back next year. And it was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day last week, so I wanted to mention it and thank a person in blue for their service. And last thing is I want to give folks a reminder. I'm going to be doing a District C meeting at the McFall Center on February 6th at 5:30. Come out, meet me, and chat about the district. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Giangiordano. Mr. Schrodes.
Thank you, Council President. First, I just want to thank you for an excellent speech and just appreciate your leadership over the past 2 years. And well done on your second state of the council. So look forward to accomplishing many things with each of my colleagues, and I think it's great how you help us each to achieve something that we want to do by working together. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Want to congratulate our newest Eagle Scout. That's Samuel Sushko of Troop 811 of Powellsville. He became an Eagle over the weekend, so I know that he's going to do incredible things, as many of our Eagles do. And also just want to thank all those who encourage these youth to make Eagle and to stick with Scouts. We're so lucky in Harford County to have many great volunteers and Scout leaders and other folks that are very involved, lots of moms and dads and others that really make us have one of the best programs. And it just seems like we have, you know, in the proclamations that we read, it says 2% of all Scouts become Eagle. Well, I think that percentage in Harford County is exponentially higher. So we're very lucky here in our great county. I do want to extend my condolences to the Grimmel family and the Smith family on the passing of Dixie Grimmel. And I can't really think of anybody that doesn't know Miss Dixie. She was the wife of Bunk Grimmel, and I know many of you knew him, but in her own right, Dixie was involved in everything. Just to highlight a few, she was a lifetime member of the Jarrettsville Volunteer Fire Company Ladies Auxiliary. She was recently honored for 70 years of service to the community at Jarrettsville. Just so many things here. It's hard to pick up every single tidbit, but she was also recognized as a living treasure by the County Council in 2007. She was also inducted into the Senior Citizens Hall of Fame in 1998, in addition to being presented the Award of Distinction for the state of Maryland. So, you know, just keep her family in your thoughts and prayers. Services will be held this Thursday, January 16th from 2 to 4 and 6 to 8 at the Jarrettsville Volunteer Fire Company Hall. And the funeral service will be this Friday, January 17th at 11 a.m. at the Jarrettsville United Methodist Church. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schrodes. Mr. Wagner?
Well, again, once it gets down to this end, you've just about covered all the issues that I had written down too. Route 40 Business Luncheon was, yeah, it's gone, so forget it. Route 40 Business Luncheon was certainly a success, and we enjoyed the Colonel Drewell speaking to us that day. The HCEA breakfast that was held out at the college, or at, in Aberdeen at the Hilton Gardens, that was I think it was a success. There were some things that came to light that day that we may not have heard about from one-on-one with some of the staff that was there and their perspective on some of the things that are going on within the schools. HCN had an advisory board meeting this past week to discuss their budget that they'll be submitting to the council shortly. And in the Chris Jansen concert at APG FCU Arena, if anybody hasn't been to the college for that, to see that venue for any kind of a performance, it's one of the better things that we've got anywhere around in the area. I mean, people talk about Merriweather and other places to go, but in your own backyard is this arena that's, the venue is just fabulous, and they bring in some very nice national acts. They're well known to people, so if you ever get the opportunity to get tickets to something that you see, don't miss out on going there and certainly subscribing to a show at that arena.
Globetrotters are coming too.
That's right, they are coming. This month? February? I forget. It's coming up right away, yeah. But,
Tickets are on sale.
yeah, but it's a nice venue, and we're very proud to have it in our backyard. With that, I'll yield.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Mr. Beulah?
Thank you, Mr. President. Oh, woe is me, I'm next to last. I too, with pretty much all my council members, I know Councilman Woods had a prior commitment, but I attended the Harford County Education Association Legislative Breakfast. And when I say all of my council members were there or either had their representatives there, I share the sentiments of President VINCENTI. I know that this council is personally committed to education here in Harford County. And so last year, and, a lot of them I've been with here for the last 5 years. So we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we provide the best possible quality education for our students in here in Harford County. We have excellent educators, teachers. I've met with a lot of them in the schools, and they get a lot done with very little. And they, in my opinion, they need to have the tools, the support, mentors, and everything to do their job correctly and efficiently, because we only get one shot at educating our children. And especially these days and times, we need to provide a quality education. So I was really proud to see the rest of my colleagues at the breakfast. I think it was a very well-attended, very good questions were asked, and some good outside-of-the-box thinking as far as solutions, because we are going to have to think outside of the box to come up with the funding to educate our children, okay, and take care of all the other public safety, parks and recs and everything else that requires this massive amount of money to do business. So, moving on, I'm sure everybody's aware that we will be celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday Monday, and I would just like to just announce one event. The Harford County branch of the NAACP will be hosting a membership drive at the MLK Breakfast celebration at St. James AME Gravel Hill Church in Havre de Grace. The breakfast will be start at 8:30 a.m. and the program will start at 10 p.m. And I would just like to say Dr. Martin Luther King was a leader for all people. And he fought for civil rights in the face of opposition, ignorance, and violence. And Dr. King maintain a vision for diversity in America where all people enjoy the benefits and equality. And I would ask, as we celebrate his birthday, that we remember, and I mean each and every one of us, especially where we are today in this country, that we remember his vision and not let all his work go in vain. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Beulah. Agenda item number 17, comments and input from attending citizens. Ms. Dixon, has anyone signed up?
Yes, Mr. President, we have 3.
Okay.
Janet Hardy, followed by Michael Curry.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening, ma'am.
My name is Janet Hardy, and I live at 1423 Abingdon Road in Abingdon. And I'm here, I took a look at the Harford Next, and it's a master plan for the next generation. And the County Executive Glassman's words appear on the cover page. And he says, and I quote, "As a native of Harford County, I know we live in a special place, and it is very important to me that we plan to keep it that way," end of quote. I want to talk about the environmental stewardship chapter, which is chapter 4 of this master plan. Page 58, we read, word for word, that environmental stewardship highlights the interconnection between natural and built environments and emphasizes the needs to balance responsible development with the protection of natural resources. The quote from Executive Glassman and the text from the master plan has everything to do with how we treat the environmentally sensitive area known as Abingdon Woods. The 300-acre property was zoned commercial industrial in 1982. The borders of the property are Interstate 95, Maryland Route 7, the interchange at Route 24, 924, and Abingdon Road. This zoning permits warehouses, retail, restaurants, hotels, gas stations, convenience stores, and a lot of other things, and is completely outdated. Progress has changed this area since the 1980s. A 300-acre warehouse retail compound does not fit a densely populated residential area. This zoning is antiquated and totally wrong. Historic St. Francis Church is located on Abingdon Road and is adjacent to the property. New buildings have been built there to accommodate their growth. Old Post Road and William Pecos schools on Route 7 also border Abingdon Woods. Since the early 1980s, 10 housing developments have been built. The houses are all within walking distance of this property. This council, except for Councilman Johnson, voted to include this sensitive land in the enterprise zone, offering a tax break to anyone who wants to destroy it. Again, Chapter 4, page 62, and I read word for word. In 2011, Maryland became the first state in the nation to require students to be environmentally literate as a high school graduation requirement. One of the main goals of this requirement is to create meaningful outdoor experiences with students to foster the understanding that we are all connected to the environment, end of quote. If the state and/or county owned this property with its wetlands, wildlife, mature trees, plants, and the Ha-Ha Branch, we could have amazing and meaningful teachable moments, an experience that cannot be recreated in a lifetime. The council invited Kristen Kirkwood and Ben Lloyd of the Harford Land Trust to present their land preservation plans and objectives at the January meeting. This was a step in the right direction, I think. If the community and the council could work with the owner of the property, the county could do the right thing and protect and preserve Abingdon Woods.
Ms. Hardy, would you please bring your comments to a close? Your time has run out.
Yes,
And
otherwise.
I hate like heck stopping you, but I have to.
Okay, that's pretty much the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hardy. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. George Michael Curry, 1409 Bassett Court, Bel Air, Maryland, 21014, speaking on behalf of the Harford County Education Association. I'm Mike Curry, the Vice President of the Harford County Education Association and the Government Relations Committee Chair. On behalf, even though you stole my thunder, on behalf of the association and the committee, I want to thank the council members and their representatives that could attend the 2020 HCA Legislative Breakfast. It was a great event, the room was packed, and it was highlighted by an open and candid conversation about the issues facing Harford County Public Schools, and contrary to Mr. Glassman's comments this evening, the consistent underfunding of Harford County Public Schools. The legislative breakfast is part of HCA's commitment to educating and providing the best information about educational issues to our local and state elected officials. We do this because we are dedicated to advocating for our communities, our schools, and most importantly, our students and their future. And we will not stop. We are here to help those who want to find solutions and stand with those who will legitimately stand up for education. We need solutions. It is time to go outside of the box because the process that we consistently hear about is not working. Solutions could include a county or charter amendment to give the council and the other county departments more influence on the budget process, or perhaps legislation to alter the transfer tax to increase education funding while maintaining land preservation funding. Let's find some solutions and find them together. The reality is we need your help. We need your public advocacy. We need you to be the voice of the public you were elected to be. And that voice has said, fund our schools. The only thing at stake is our children's future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John Malamo.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for your speech this evening.
Thank you.
John P. Malamo, 2402 Eagle View Drive. Continuing with our review of the Development Advisory Committee minutes, Mr. Malamo asked how much jet fuel would be stored on site. Mr. Kopek, Doug Kopek, Vice President, CNA, recognized as an expert land planner and environmental consultant for testimony in zoning case 5814, replied that he did not know and it was an operations question. Mr. Malamo asked if any jet fuel would be present. Mr. Davenport was uncertain, added that it would be regulated by the Maryland Department of the Environment. Referring to the Planning and Zoning Department Development Review Section 2016 Site Plan Checklist, any existing, proposed, underground storage tanks, USTs, above-ground storage tank, AGSTs, or any other potential sources of contamination on the property or within 100 feet of the property lines must be identified on the site plan. There was no fuel storage indicated on the site plan for the application for zoning case 5814. I could not find any fuel storage indicated on the site plan received at the County Planning and Zoning on 1 October 2014, which was submitted to the DAC and presented at the 5 November 2014 DAC meeting and subsequently approved January 2015. From our review of the approved site plan received at the County Planning and Zoning on 17 November 2014, we determined that there is no fuel storage located anywhere on the property. We also determined that the approval letter for the site plan noted that there were no accessory uses on the site plan. The Maryland Department of the Environment does not regulate fuel storage and filling stations. It does not have zoning authority over whether they may be located in Harford County or where they may be located. That's the zoning code and the Planning and Zoning Department. FAA Form 5100 for 2014 indicated that 100 low lead was provided as a service at the airport. We've determined that fuel sales and storage is not permitted by code unless all adjacent properties are on public water. The zoning code requires a zoning certificate for accessory uses, and it says that no zoning certificate will be issued unless the facility is substantially complete. There's no zoning certificates that I could find. Today, Harford County Airport advertises 100 low lead avgas, jet fuel A, and Sunoco racing fuel as services. By code, there should be a zoning certificate. There was a requirement in Condition 10, granted in zoning case 5814, that the permits be required. A new site plan was approved in October of 2019. We'll review that plan at a later date. Now, gentlemen, could one of you please explain how these actions ensure that the project complies with the conditions of special exception and the Harford County Code? Anyone? Good night.
Good night, sir.
There is no one else signed up, Mr. President.
Thank you. With no one else signed up, this meeting will be adjourned.
I swear somebody should